Knock knock. It's teaser time. New cockpits, explosive barrels, a brand new scenario, and a whole bunch of other things have been teased to us over the past week by the developers of Space Engineers. So sit back and relax as we go through everything revealed for the Warfare Evolution update. We've received 3 teasers for the next update for Space Engineers, and additionally, we've received a lot of information about a new PvP combat scenario coming to the game. The first teaser only really shows us one block, and it's this openable container that you can see back here. As you can see, when the engineer interacts with it, the lid opens to reveal storage inside. This block is called the cargo crate, and it appears to be a cosmetic variant of the freight block added in the Decorative Blocks 2 DLC, except obviously it's physically bigger and has an opening door on it. On a recent Space Engineers developer livestream, they said that they wanted to add more interactive blocks like the access panels added in the Automatons DLC, so this looks to be an example of one of these interactive blocks. I'll mention it here, I'm not 100% sure what this block or texture on the wall behind is, so if you do or don't recognise it, let me know with a comment below. As I've mentioned in these update videos before, these kinds of things could just be the back of blocks I've never looked at in game, but I thought it was worth mentioning regardless. Just like it's also worth mentioning to you to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this kind of content. The second teaser is way more interesting than the first and reveals many other new things that are coming in this update. It reads, Warfare Evolution, Decorative Pack 3, soon. And there's also a video below that we'll go over in a second. First of all, Warfare Evolution. I believe this is the name of a new scenario coming to the game in this update, as we were previously told about a scenario coming to the game that was going to be called Combat Evolved, and as the names are kind of similar, I'd assume that Warfare Evolution is just the new name for Combat Evolved. We'll go over this scenario later in the video as we know quite a bit about it, but first I want to go over the new blocks that are shown in this teaser. Decorative Pack 3 is obviously the name of the DLC that will be coming alongside this update, as we've had Decorative Pack 1 and 2 in the past. The Automatons DLC pack was very impressive. I was a big fan of pretty much all the additions in it, and we got way more blocks than we normally get in a DLC. So if Decorative Pack 3 is anything like that, and it very much seems to be, I'll be very excited to see all these new additions. And the next part is quite simply, soon. I had presumed that this update would be coming out around the 10th anniversary of Space Engineers in October, but judging by the amount of new stuff we've had teased in the past week, it's possible that it might be coming out much sooner than that, maybe in the next few weeks. There is another big sci-fi space exploration and shipbuilding game coming out very soon, so I'd imagine they tried to avoid conflicting with that, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's take a look at the video below the teaser. And my immediate thoughts, big fan, quite literally. You can see it at the back here. Whilst I'm sure this is just a new cosmetic block, and it does look like a very nice cosmetic block from the small glimpse of it we get here, we have been teased in the past that a new thruster variant will be coming to the game very soon, so maybe, potentially, and I really mean maybe and potentially, this could be a new atmospheric thruster variant. If you probably couldn't tell I'm doubting this, it's probably just a big fan that takes away that sweaty gamer smell from your base. On the left, we can see a new vertical button panel and a new vertical control panel. Previously, we had the big red button version of the vertical button panel, and these two seem to be variants of that. One having a different, more sci-fi looking button on it, and the other one obviously having a control panel on it. As we move forward in the video, you can see that the welders begin to weld up a rover. I will note, whilst I'm not sure if it means anything at this point, the welders are presumably welding up a projection here, but there is no projection. It could be possible that there's a new option for projectors to hide the projection, which seems like a bit of a weird option. Or perhaps this is something for the trailer to make it look more cinematic. I'm sure we'll find out very soon. Speaking of wheel, or more specifically wheels, that's such a stupid joke. You can't see it properly at this angle, but the suspension for the wheels on the rover is different than the normal suspension. If we go a bit further in the teaser, you can see that the two suspensions sit flush with each other, and this is something that the current suspension in the game can't do, as you can see here. These also appear to only be one block wide, which means you could use these to build more compact rovers. So if you're a rover builder like I am, this is something definitely to look forward to. Although keen, if you're adding more suspension variants, could we have a center suspension? I feel like that would be pretty cool. Imagine making a motorbike with your center suspension, or planes with wheels in the middle. In the background of the shot here, you can see what appears to be displays that are embedded within a block, very similar to how there is a light inside of the inset light block from Automatons. In the past, the developers have spoken about adding more blocks like the inset light block to the game, so presumably this is an example of this in the next update. Whilst I can't show you why, I know that we'll be getting a cosmetic variant of the jukebox coming in this update, and that looks very similar to the way these embedded displays look. So perhaps these are just these jukeboxes, but with the displays changed to show posters instead. Coming back to the rover, a 2x3 block is welded up at the back of it, which looks like it's being used as some kind of wheel arch. We get a better look at this block at this angle here, and I'm not really sure what this is. It's a bit big just to be a wheel arch. Perhaps it's some kind of new functional block? Maybe it's a hydrogen engine variant or some kind of gyroscope variant, as we don't see either of these on this rover. Or maybe it's something else. Why don't you let me know in the comments what you think this block is? The third teaser we received today, and it is definitely the most interesting teaser out of the bunch. First of all, we can see that this rover in front of us has a brand new cockpit on it. I don't exactly know what to call this kind of cockpit, but it definitely seems like it's designed to be a rover cockpit for your big 4x4 vehicles. Actually, if we paint this thing yellow, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to be using this for. It looks like us rover builders are going to be eating well this update, as we can also see a second new suspension on this rover, this one being a variant of the off-road suspension. This suspension variant appears to be a 3-block L shape, as shown by the fact that this blue block here is placed in the corner of it. This makes this suspension even more compact than the other suspension variant we were teased in the first teaser. In between the left and right suspension, there's a block I don't recognise, but we don't really get any indication in this teaser of what this block could be. So as always, if you think you know what it is, let me know with a comment below. On the back of the rover, there appears to be a new antenna variant that you can see here. As you can see, it has this little aerial poking out at the top of it, rather than the little satellite dish the current one has. This is a very welcome addition in my opinion, as I typically hide my antennas inside of my ships and rovers, as it looks a little odd to have this little satellite dish poking out of my builds. You've probably noticed it already, but in the background here, there is a new wind turbine variant. You can see it spinning around over there. In the real world, this is called a Darius wind turbine, so this is probably the name of this new variant. Next to the wind turbine, you can see this solar array here, and whilst I'm not sure if these are new solar panels, this could just be some hinge and rotor magic to angle them like this. I am aware that new solar panel variants are coming in this update regardless, so it seems pretty likely that these are these new variants, and they just come angled like this. Next to the rover, there's a block that looks very similar to the cargo crate from the first teaser, but this one looks smaller than it looked in the original teaser. As this block is very similar to the freight block, which when it came out had 3 different variants, maybe the cargo crate will have a couple of other cosmetic variants as well. Now, I've been informed that this is my 69th upload to the channel, so I'd probably need to do something sexy for it, and there is nothing sexier than big red explosive barrels. I believe this block is called the storage unit, and there's going to be a storage version of it, and also an explosive version of it. I believe this here is the explosive version, due to it having this label on the side here, which looks like it's warning of an explosion. Although I am curious if these blocks are just explosive due to them being made of explosive components, or if they'll have a practical use as storage for hydrogen or something. Behind the explosive barrel, we have a block that's quite difficult to make out at this angle. I think it could be some kind of duct block, potentially one we already have in the game, but let me know if you think you know what this is. Just to add to the end of this section, whilst I don't have a picture of it, I'm also aware that a new medical bay is coming in this update as well, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Anyway, that's enough of new blocks. Let's talk about Warfare Evolution. A couple of months ago, Marek Rosa, the CEO of Keen Software House, the developers of Space Engineers, posted on his blog about wanting to create a new combat scenario. This scenario, unlike other scenarios in the game, would be an evolving scenario that would be tweaked based on player feedback. The first version of this scenario that will come out alongside the update will feature 2 teams, both of which will have their own asteroid base. Within each base is a data container, and whoever destroys the other team's data container first wins. To achieve this, both teams have some mostly constructed ships to use, and an assortment of materials to upgrade their ships and build base defenses with. After it comes out, there'll be an initial phase of tweaking and balancing the scenario based on player feedback, and then the next phase of this will be modifying this scenario to allow players to spawn in their own blueprints and use them as part of the scenario. I'd imagine there'd probably be limitations of what you can spawn in, otherwise every battle is probably going to end up being the USS Enterprise versus the Death Star, and whilst this would be pretty cool, it wouldn't be very competitive, would it? When this scenario releases, I will definitely be running a few games on my Discord, so if you'd like to join in, you can join my Discord with the link in the description below. And if you want to stay up to date with this update and scenario's release, and any other future teasers we receive for it, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel to see more Space Engineers content. A special thanks to The Wildcat, Querty the Pro Gregor, Hamish917, Athaki, Somit, Tarantula Fudge, Pascal, Roland Red Sky, Death Valley Dave, and Darker Matter. If you'd like to support the channel, you can become a member by pressing the join button below the video, or it helps out just as much by clicking that like button and subscribe button as well.